little mini reaction video. Um, we're just gonna go ahead and jump straight into it. I'm on a time crunch, but I really wanted to kind of sit down in the moment and react to this stuff. The last time I did a reaction video, I was sitting with you guys. We were talking. I was doing a haul and all of that, and then the next day, the tariffs dropped, and everything has kind of been upside down since then. So I'm not gonna really, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, obviously. If anybody is like following this stuff, obviously, it's chaotic. Excuse me. A lot of people are scrambling. A lot of people are, worried. A lot of people are doing different things, taking action, doing different things. So everyone is kind of reacting in their own way. Um, for me, the most part, um, for me, the most part is, doing whatever I can as a consumer to support my, local businesses and stuff like that. Buy local, buy Canadian made products, do all of that to show my support. Um, in terms of like on the entrepreneurial side of things, um, I don't really have that much of an effect really or reaction because I don't sell anything outside of Canada anyway. I don't ship anything to the States. So all my business is done locally or international sometimes, but we don't ship to the States anyway. So just because of the exchange, like it's the money, like I would be losing too much money, obviously. So for conversion and all of that. So yeah, we don't really do business south of the border. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm not really affected. But as a resident, of course, as a resident, I am affected. A lot of people are, a lot of people are affected, especially if you've, have experienced the good old days. If you lived in Canada in the 80s and 90s and 2000s and all of that, it was great. So that's nostalgic. But really, the relationship with the United States changed after 9/11 anyway. They restricted access to a lot of Canadian residents. Like if you're not a Canadian citizen, you got to go through the hassle of getting a visa to go over there. It's a lengthy process. You got to pay a lot of money, and you got to have this whole thing, and it may not be even granted, and then you don't get a refund. It has always been kind of deteriorating, to be honest. um so this is just like, the nail in the coffin type of thing. It's kind of been coming. um but anyway, I didn't really want to react to the I'm not really reacting to the negativity per se. My reaction is more so, okay, what happens next? Like after we go through what we're gonna go through, because the next 4 years is gonna be extremely difficult. Especially if you're in the auto sector and stuff like that. That industry is gonna get hit really hard. So there are gonna be a lot of people, you know, um, feeling the pinch for a little bit. But but let's just be let's just be a little realistic. um History shows us, and we know this, human beings are resilient and they will rebound. What will happen is they will source elsewhere. Eventually, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, okay, this is not fact, this is just my opinion. Eventually, what will happen is the industries will source somewhere else. They will create new trade routes. They will create new trade partners. Canada will return to the European Union in a more non-symbolic way. In terms of trade, it's gonna probably go more that route. And eventually, what will happen, to be honest, is Canada will just become more European. go back to its roots. If you understand what I'm saying, um, the ties will just become closer. And from a security standpoint, we are part of the British Commonwealth. But over the years, our culture has become watered down into what is now known as North American culture. That was never a thing. We made it a thing over generations, obviously, right? So what will happen is a revert from that. I'll give you an example. If you've ever been to Montreal or Quebec in general, it's like stepping into Europe. The architecture, the culture, the language, they speak French. It's very much French. You wouldn't even think you're in Canada anymore, to be honest. From cobblestone streets to the culture to the food, like I said. So the rest of Canada will probably just follow suit. It'll just become more European influenced over generations. And the border eventually will disappear. There won't be no border. It'll be just be two separate countries. Kind of like North Korea, South Korea. You stay over there, we stay over here, and that's just what it is. In terms of trade and trust, that's probably gone. That's done. 80 years, done, over with. It would never be the same. It may resemble something similar way, way down the road. But just in my personal opinion, once again, we've seen these kind of things happen over time. Nobody needs a history lesson, so we're just gonna keep it pushing. What happens over time? Over time is people change, they adapt. If you look at Taiwan and China, they're Taiwanese. They don't want to be considered Chinese. You understand what I'm saying? Hong Kong, we're separate. Like we're not part of that. Other places they break off. In terms of us, we are a separate country. We are part of the British Commonwealth. We're part of NATO. So we already are a sovereign nation. But we did share a culture as we live on the same continent. It kind of, that line kind of blurred over time. Everything just kind of mixed and matched back and forth. Obviously, to the detriment of us, um, you know, right now. So eventually that will not be a thing anymore. We'll just be, we are over here, we have our culture, and you're over there and you have your culture. I don't think that America will militarily attack Canada. I don't. We're not going to be their Ukraine. That's not going to happen. First of all, I don't think legally you can do that. And I think as the whole NATO thing goes, to militarily attack us for no reason just because we refuse to join your country or be annexed would be an act of war. And then that would be a whole other discussion, wouldn't it? And I wouldn't see the point in that. Like, why would you want us to join you that bad that you would want to incur the wrath of every European country? And why would you want to go to war over Canada for what? Well, I know you want the minerals and the water and all the lumber and the whatever, but like realistically, like, you know what I mean? Is it worth it? Like, do you really need your version of Ukraine that badly? I don't think that would end well anyway. And I wouldn't see why American people would be interested in that. So I don't see this being a military war. I do see this being a cultural war, as in a division of culture, eventually over time. Like I said, this will just become more of a European themed type of vibe. It'll be like stepping into like a mini version of Europe. The language is already, you know, almost there, very different. The culture is definitely very different. And eventually, a lot of people who are here, European background, a lot of people have dual citizenship and all of that. That will become more of a thing in terms of travel. Nobody's going to want to travel over there unless you have the freedom to do as you please. There are people in Canada who will take part in that whole thing. And of course, we see where that goes. If this doesn't get crazy, they will probably maintain their connection and travel back and forth. But the majority of people living here will look to the Caribbean and Europe for vacation and travel. That's just the reality of things. As things become more hostile and more difficult, as more people lose their jobs and homes, and there's like a complete cultural shift, more people are going to travel the other way. Will the Americans care? Probably not. Eventually over time, it will just become it is what it is. For right now, it's going to be tough. It's going to be bitter. People are going to be angry. Some people are going to be happy, and majority of people are going to be really upset. And that's going to fester for generations. This is something that parents and grandparents will tell their children, and it will be the great hate feeder, if you understand what I'm saying. This is going to be the one thing that will go down in the history books. I know we're not doing books anymore and everything is digital, but this is more figuratively speaking. This is going to be talked about for generations. And it's going to feed into this hate culture. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Like I said, I wasn't going to sugarcoat my opinion for anybody. Um, this is going to feed into a very anti-American culture that will develop over generations. I will tell the story, my children will tell the story, their children will tell the story, and it will go on and on and on, right? And it will become a thing because that's just human nature, right? It's kind of like how people talk about the Nazi stuff and people talk about the Great Depression, these huge cultural shifts that create this divide and rifts that are unhealable, unmendable, right? They may be cohabitable, if I said that right. I've been out of school for a little bit. Excuse me. Um, you can coexist. Let me use layman terms. You can coexist together, but you'll never like each other like you did before. And there are many, 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 many examples of this globally, right? You just live side by side because you have to, but you don't have to interact, so you don't. Many countries have these cultural divides. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's going to take some time for my generation, my daughter's generation. It'll take some time for this to kind of stew in, right? And everybody will talk about the good old days, and everybody will be nostalgic. Everybody will be angry at times, but eventually life goes on and life will move on and find new ways. And provinces will find new ways to work together, support each other. I don't think this country is ever going to be the 51st state. That's why it was never brought up in the speech. It's like, yeah, no, that's never going to happen. But what is going to happen is that the relationship is probably unmendable. And that's sad, right? That's really sad. I have family in the United States. Um, but my situation is a little different, right? I didn't really see my family over there anyway, just because of travel. So we already had that disconnect, unfortunately. But I do keep in touch with certain family members via the internet, so that won't change. But physically seeing them, of course, that's gonna change. A lot of people, you know, relationships will suffer um, just because of the situation created. It's just what it is. That's just life. Like, nobody's gonna be able to sit across the table and cackle about how, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, your terrorist made me unemployed. Like, let's just have lunch and catch up. Like, what? So that's done. That's over with. And it is what it is. Maybe some of this stuff is mendable. I'm a very cynical person. I think that's pretty obvious, but I'm a realist. And I've kept my opinion very sugar coated for the most part, but clearly we have arrived at the precipice. So let's just be for real. This stuff is just terrible. It's terrible, but I'm also a spiritual person, so I'm just gonna keep that part to myself. If you know, you know. And this is the time to just really buckle down with certain things, you know what I mean? And really dig in. Because it's gonna get really bad really fast. This illusion and this fairy tale is gonna have like that very bad Netflix ending, like, you know, when they take the fairy tales and completely twist them around. What was it called again? I forget. But anyway, you guys know what I mean. Like, it's not gonna be a happy ending is what I'm getting at. But you know, for myself, what I'm doing is I am praying even more than I usually do. I'm really digging into that. I'm really digging into that. And it has helped me tremendously, to stay focused and to stay diligent and to just really understand what is happening. And I'm so grateful for that. And if you're somebody like me, then, you know, this is all part of the grand plan. So buckle in. It is going to be a bumpy ride. Stay up and stay blessed, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you made it to the end, shout out to my Purple Heart member gangs. You guys will see this later on once I upload it on YouTube. Thank you for all of your support in advance. You guys always come through, always amazing. Stay tuned for more content. My voice is going, sorry. Stay tuned for more content. I will catch up with you guys later. We have more entrepreneurial stuff coming up. I just had to get this off my chest. Like, I just had to vent it out. And that's why I created my platform, my safe space, so that I can speak my piece. I mean, no offense to anyone. This is my life happening in real time. And if my feelings is offensive to you, then I'm so sorry. Not really sorry, but I am sorry. You know, it is what it is. This is life. And we have to deal with it. And part of me dealing with it is venting it out, talking it out. And I feel much better. So thank you for listening. And like I said, stay up and stay blessed. We'll catch up with you guys in another video. Deuces.